Hello.
Nobody rang the bell.
Well, thank you for coming. And I think this is about it. We will be attending. The rest are out of town. The purpose of this meeting we called was more an information meeting and a question and answer session and a bit of general info of where we stand and what's going on. We felt that as a board that there were a few questions which we had to address and a few misconceptions that we also had to address and put on the table and advise homeowners accordingly. So it's not really a formal session. I don't know whether we're even going to keep meetings. We'll keep a general feedback to those who are not present. I think I need to start off. I think the one pressing question is the traversing onto Blauwbank and the hunting and the arrangements in regard to traversing onto Blauwbank. I need to start off to say that I've immediately got to remove a misconception, and that is that nowhere in any document or deed of sale or any other undertaking was a traverse onto Blauwbank guaranteed. The only traverses...
Never has been and never ever.
It has never ever been. You won't find the word Blauwbank on any document. You will find on certain documents the word Welverdiend. Now that's a separate argument which we don't have to deal with now. We're dealing with that and it's almost solved. The Blauwbank traverse came about as a result of an initiative by the individual homeowners approaching the Homeowners Association, approaching Blauwbank for a traverse right and negotiating a traverse right for 2 vehicles initially and then eventually 4 vehicles at an agreed price. There is no formal agreement. It's a yearly agreement based on trust and goodwill with our neighbours. So the bottom line is that it's not a developer issue, it's purely a homeowner's issue, and it was negotiated by the homeowners approximately 3.5 years ago. So from that perspective, I just need to remove that. It's not a developer issue. It doesn't mean that we don't understand the concerns of the homeowners, because it is a good selling tool for us, because we can advise potential investors that there is a traverse right or traverse rights. There are traverse rights available onto Blauwbank. I fully understand that there are sensitive issues and the hunting is the main issue, and that people feel they're paying for something and that they cannot utilize the full traverse right because of cut-off of blocks and. What I need to emphasize at this stage is that from the developer's point of view, and I believe the homeowner's point of view, it's the wrong time to pick a fight, for want of a better word, with the Steinbergs at this stage. I understand that there have been instances which haven't been handled properly by the Steinbergs. And the reason why I'm saying that is we are very, very close to concluding a deal which will bring in Welverdiend and extend the reserve with another 1,300 hectares, which is extremely important for us and the Big Five, and extending the game capacity onto 5,500 hectares instead of 4,002 odd hectares. For that we do need the approval of the Steinbergs at this stage, and I can tell you they're uncomfortable with the accusations that are being made against them. I've been able to explain to them that they mustn't see it as a homeowner's effort. It's rather a few individuals who I believe are overstepping the line. They understand that and they fully agree with the initiative of conservation. But the timing is now wrong to approach them and say to them, guys, please, you've got to do something about your hunting. I believe that we will be in a situation in a month's time where we can take and I don't want to say a firmer stance, but that we can feel more freely, because it has been one of their concerns right from the start. And I'm almost sorry to say this, but one of their concerns has always been, Dirk, it's fine, I don't mind dealing with you and with Kevin, but if you're gone and Kevin's gone, who am I going to deal with?
I have a question. If it was the homeowners that negotiated the traverse,
Yeah.
then why are the homeowners not involved? Why?
Homeowners, directors of the homeowners, not all the homeowners together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
They
Right.
absolutely don't want to deal with committees.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with committees.
So you all represent us.
We as directors are representing
job.
you. Yeah, yes. And as I said, it's one of their concerns that they might find that there are characters who they don't want to deal with. But we've dealt with that also, and we've put their fears to rest.
Just
So
put yourself in their shoes. If
I-
it was your farm, would you want 50 people coming to tell you what to do in your farm? The answer is absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I totally agree.
yeah.
Totally agree.
Whether it's by WhatsApp or however,
But
it comes to
I
the
think
same.
there's another thing as well. There's other aspects that you're dealing with at the moment which can't be told to all the people,
Yeah.
to try and bring conservation forward and to help them as well to do a transition.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important
Yeah,
transition.
yeah, and it's, I know that we're sounding hell of a secretive about all of this. It's just like I said at the AGM. We cannot disclose the nature of the discussions we're having, because all it takes is for one wrong remark to be made, and everything is blown away with the good or bad intentions. So we've got to keep it a closed circuit, and I'm calling on you, like we did at the AGM, is you've elected certain directors, some like Paddy and I were forced on you, but trust us, we are trying to do our best, and we are trying to advance conservation and increase the total hectareage of this conservancy. Having said that, I believe that with the correct approach to them, they will soon realize this is the first year of this arrangement that we've got with them, and I think that they will soon realize, without being derogatory towards them, that traversing is more lucrative than hunting. And I have hinted this, and I've indicated to them that they must understand we're the people who can sell traverse rights, and as hunting and traversing just do not go hand in hand. It's not a secret at the moment, just from the homeowners, they're getting 240,000 a year. Now I can almost guarantee you they're not making half of that out of hunting. So we've got to educate them, and I believe Kevin and I and Paddy are the correct person, and John
I think
and
educate is probably the wrong word. They're going to find out for themselves.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to say anything.
yeah, they will find out that it's better, but we will have to sort of
But it'll take a few years.
explain to them that we that hunting is just not as lucrative, and you can rather sit in your stoep with a glass of wine in your hand and earn money than running around. I understand their predicament, that their one son is a professional hunter and that it's his income at this stage. It's something we have to deal with, but at this stage, for want of a better word, it's not the right time to approach them and say, well, you've broken this protocol 4 times and you gave us short notice on 7 occasions. Let's get this whole thing settled of the bigger conservancy, and then we can approach them in a decent and proper manner and say, guys, let's look at an arrangement if they want to go that route. But I don't want to antagonize them at this stage. So that's our approach and the position on the traverses. I don't know if there are any comments or questions before we carry on to something else here.
Can I just ask something? Do they not have concerns about the lions coming on if they want to go into very expensive game?
Well, they have no problem with the lions coming
Oh,
in.
I was just wondering
No.
about that. Because
No,
they
we've
want to
in fact,
invest in very expensive species.
well,
There's a discussion to be had about that. Marius put that on there, and people need to understand who Marius is. Marius is the son-in-law, and for all practical purposes is the farm manager. and I think he exceeded his
So I was
authority
just
in
wondering about
making
that.
those statements.
No, no,
I want
it's-
to
that's
pay
the
that
comment
amount
you
of money
made,
for
yeah.
the species. I don't want lines.
Kevin
around
made that comment
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
He said
yeah.
catching
it's
them.
going to be silly.
I think the comment itself shows that he exceeded what his authority or what his expectations are. You're not going to put roan antelope on here for the lions to feed on. So, yeah, and they've indicated. I mean, we've already spoken about lions. They said yes, we'd love to have them. We've
That was
spoken
not even
about
a debate.
yeah. It's not a debate as far as the big lions, leopards, and cheetah are concerned. They would love to
Look,
have
let's
it.
put it simply. They are 100% backing the management plan. And the management plan is what all those
Yeah.
species
So I
are.
was just wondering about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I wouldn't do it.
Why would you bring in roan and sable? Well, I think they may be, Marius is over-anticipating the fact that the prices are softened. So they might have come down from 150,000 to 50,000, but 150,000 a meal is still a very big meal.
Yeah, quite expensive.
It's not nice to watch
Yeah.
50,000 being eaten. No, it's this thing.
So
should-
the
yeah,
concern is that if we ask questions about communication with Blowbunk, that they'll nix the whole deal?
No, it's not a concern at this stage. It's just that the tone of certain individuals, and I don't mind, I'm going to say it, is the way that Simon is approaching this is completely the wrong way.
You've got too many
Well, I have to
Simons.
say,
Sorry, Simon. When I say Simon, excluding
Karen Simon.
current.
I've been one of those people.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you
please,
know.
if we
You
can
have
ask
to
you.
remember one thing. First of all, is that Piet Steinbach owns on Leadwood.
Right,
So he's in our groups.
right,
So there's no privacy in these groups.
right,
So whatever you put out there
right.
is a public statement. And what you're doing is effectively communicating directly to the Steinbachs.
Well, what I did
So why can't-
one time when Marius had announced something, I wrote him privately and said, Marius, can you let me know if Block 2 will be closed this afternoon? I did not put
No,
it
that's
on.
no issue.
No,
No,
that's-
that's
no, that's-
pure
No,
practical
that's
arrangements
fine.
an issue.
That's not an issue.
No,
but
if you want
don't.
to say, you know, you've
asking
zoned
a simple
out block
question.
3, but we really would like to go to
Unfortunately,
block 3.
he didn't answer me on several of them, which, you know, today I put on there because they were supposed to be hunting through tomorrow. Today I said, is it the same schedule? And he's like, no, we're done.
No, you said yesterday they were done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
put
I
it out
don't think
yesterday.
it's. All I'm saying is don't.
No, arrangements are not a problem.
Yeah, but don't post remarks about you
But-
should
but
have
when-
given us notice
Yeah.
22
That can
hours
be done on a
ago.
private email to the board. I
Well,
would
write to
think.
us and say we're unhappy
Hopefully.
about that.
But
That's fine.
is there anything that can be done about them giving better notice?
It's something we
sometimes
will
if they
address.
don't
We will sit around the table with them and say, look, we think the arrangement's working and it's fine. These are our concerns. How do you want to address them? So it's not as though we're not in constant communication. Nico and I speak almost on a daily basis to each other, and I think Kevin also. It's just that we're asking, please refrain from
agitating them.
agitating them, especially at this stage.
Look, if you had a problem with Raptors View, would you speak to Byron or would you speak to the board at Raptors View? Because you're speaking to Byron when you speak
You're
to
talking
Morris.
apples and oranges. I don't live on Raptors.
No, but if we had a problem with Raptors and we wanted to do something, let's say we had Travis there, you can't speak to Byron, he's the manager, he carries out the board's instructions. Marius carries out the family's instructions. He has no discretion himself, he gets told what to do. So when they started blocking off the bigger areas, and of course everybody mustn't assume that we're doing nothing. I'm not going to have a debate on WhatsApp with Marius and everybody else, in there. So we talked to them privately. And that's when we came up with that arrangement, when suddenly they wanted to block off the whole farm. And then we sat down and we negotiated and we split it in, we worked out the times and the deals and so on and so forth. However, Marius got overruled. On the one occasion that he wanted to do it, they ended up with a mix-up with one of the family members that was out from overseas. And they were there at the same time as some of the hunters, so they wanted to use more of the areas. And Marius got overruled by one of the brothers and said, simply send it out like that, that's what you're going to do. Having a debate with Marius is pointless.
It's not his fault.
He can
just followed
absolutely not do
instructions.
anything. He's a perfectly nice, decent, reasonable person, but he can only do so much. And on that occasion, I had to back off because I couldn't get hold of the particular brother concerned, and Nico was in Italy. So.
Sorry.
Dirk, my biggest concern at this stage is Simon. As a
think that's everybody's
homeowner,
concept.
I honestly, I'm worried about his influence, which has got the potential to bug up this whole arrangement.
Well, I don't want to say unfortunately, I agree with you. And I've spoken to Nico about it. Nico understands the issues that Simon has got, and he's told me in no uncertain terms that he ignores the comments from Simon. So as long as we've got that understanding from the Steinbergs that they are ignoring him, we can't do more than that. So it's a constant job, and we can only, as a board, write to all homeowners and say, please refrain from dealing with the Steinbergs directly, and copy the Steinbergs in on that and say,
But
please
just to be
ignore.
absolutely clear, if you wanted to say, for example, you wanted to go to block 2 because of the hyena den, there's no problem going to Marius and say, is it possible to shift block 2 for block 1 because we would like to go to the hyena. That kind of day-to-day arrangements is no
That's
issue
perfect.
whatsoever.
That's,
It's about the principle of it, it's about details and, you know, let's call it affecting the commercial activities that take place.
And they're cooperative, and I truly believe that Kevin and I will, with gentle persuasion, coax them into realizing that the hunting is not profitable.
They have a much bigger turnover from the hunting than we will ever generate from Travis rights. But the Travis rights come with almost zero expenses, whereas the hunting comes with very real expenses. And eventually they will work out that the money they're getting from us is net. And that makes it a hell of a lot better than all the other effort they're running around and having to get catering and making beds and doing all those things that go with the hunting. But in my experience, it takes 2 to 3 years for people to realize that.
Can I say something? I think what all of us have to get out, or I certainly have to wrap my head around, is getting used to the idea that I am now part of a hunting, what do we call it, a hunting reserve or a hunting conservancy. Whereas I didn't realize that in the beginning. When we were part of Blue Canyon Conservancy, I was told that the Steinbachs had stopped hunting or were stopping hunting in exchange for traversing and everything. That they were going to be doing culling and whatnot. So for me, it's now, I read all these things and I just get agitated because now I'm part of a hunting farm. And that's not what I wanted.
Because last year there wasn't these hunting things.
No, we only got that since
yeah.
the fence went up here. And I understand that's the arrangement that we had to make because of the fence that went up. But we now have to wrap our heads around the fact that we're part of a hunting reserve. And I think that's what's irritating most people. It's not the behavior of the Steinbachs or the fact that they've got these blocks or zoning things off. And we understand that there's nothing in writing about that we will definitely have traversing on Blowbank. We bought onto Leadwood, and if we get traversing or manage to get some traversing elsewhere, it's temporary and we're grateful for it. But it's wrapping my head around the fact that I now have guys, we don't even know what they're hunting, when they're hunting. I'm part of it. I didn't elect to be part of it. I am now part of a hunting farm. And I have to accept that.
Look, it's a perception. You're now aware that you are.
Yeah.
Nothing had changed because they were hunting on
I'm actually making a statement. I'm not pointing
I hear what
fingers
you're
or
saying.
anything. I'm just saying that's
but
what it is.
They
I
did
think-
hunt on the Blue Canyon Conservancy that we didn't know about.
See,
It just wasn't
so-
out there. Now it's
Yeah.
out there.
Now it's in
Now
our
we see it every
face. It's in our
second day.
face all the time, and we think,
We're going to stop.
do I want to be part of a hunting farm?
Now, look, there was an exchange that, and let's just say it wasn't a warranty or anything else like that.
Yeah, I
But in
can.
exchange for Travis income, they would, initially they agreed, which they still agreed to, they're not doing biltong hunting anymore. So there's no longer the 1, 2, 3
Culling.
formula of kind of hunting going on there. So it's trophy hunting only, and it's mostly targeted at foreign clients paying more money.
No, but you understand what I'm saying is
Yeah.
we didn't have it, and it's now so in our face.
It's a mind shift.
That's
Yeah.
it. It's a mind shift.
Yeah.
I think I think
it's going to shift back again.
the blow will be softened, Glenn, as soon as we've got Velferdent in.
Yes.
Because then you can say, well, I hope you guys overhunt because all the game will move on to Velferdent and Leadwood, and we'll have a whale of a time here, which effectively will mean you don't want to go there because the game is skittish.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that will happen. If not, well, when we move in and Belfodine becomes part of Blah.
Can I just ask one question? Sorry, I don't mean to hog the space. As far as Let It Goes and everything, have we any closer? Have you spoken to Lyle lately, or what's the
No,
what does he say?
Guys are here tomorrow, as
Is
I
it?
said. Yeah. So we're meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay,
and
so
we
we're
want to do
getting.
an
I mean, we
inspection.
should have news soon about how that's going.
I make
You
no
never know.
predictions. I make no predictions. As I said at the AGM, from the time we submitted, it'd take 3 months. We submitted about the 20th of June. They got back to us about 3 months later, and now we're starting the whole process where he's been engaging with Teresa MacDonald about the felt on Belfodint, which he's concerned of with good reason. And he's been talking to me about elephant, and he wants to have a more detailed discussion with me about the elephant tomorrow. And which is why the reason is that we have only blowbunk and leadwood, as I've always said to you. The only one species I'm concerned about is the elephant. If we have blowbunk, leadwood and Belfodint, I'm less concerned about it.
Yeah, more space.
So, that's why it's quite critical at the moment that no loose talk about Belfodint goes out there. There's a bunch of people out there who want that deal to fail. And they all live in Hoedspruit, and they're all friends of yours without you even knowing it. And loose talk can easily result in that completely being destroyed.
And we need this deal to go ahead to include Belfodint to increase our size to
As
stand a better
Adrian-
chance of getting the
It
elephant.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
But there are
and
people out there who are actively opposing it, not passively opposing it, who are actively opposing it.
Why? Just because they can.
They don't want it to work.
When I got involved in this thing, I
Okay.
thought it couldn't take more than 6 months to solve a logical problem. Here we are 3.5 years later, and there's no logic involved. So you cannot find an explanation because there isn't one. It's personal.
Can I ask a question about the hunting? Getting back to that, can they just hunt whatever they want because it's their ground? Is there licenses that have to be obtained, and is there a certain species that they can hunt? And can we have any visibility of it? I mean, it's out of interest, so that we've got a bit more clarity.
they've got to have permits and licenses. I don't think we should go down the road of having.
No, I don't want a report back. I just wanted to know.
Look, put it this way, there's no... I will know what they're hunting. Because I have to do annual reports and things like that for a thing. I will get a full report. It doesn't mean to say they have to be honest with me, but I will know about it. But on the other hand, I can absolutely tell you it'll be confidential.
But it's buck, it's antelope,
It's plains game is its...
Plains game.
zebras. Yeah. They
wildebeest.
wouldn't hunt.
Yeah,
So
no,
whether they can, I put
They're not
something to
only-
rest,
if
whether
we-
they can get a permit to hunt a honey badger or not is irrelevant because they.
No, technically speaking, you can get a permit, but then you've got to explain why you need to do it and so on. It invariably has something to do with one that's raiding something or it's causing some damage. but
Or like hyena, they've
but
got a snare around the.
I've got to find the time to go and read the whole thing to find out what you can and can't get a permit on. But the bottom line is that you can get a permit for surplus animals that are surplus to carrying
Or problem
capacities and all those kind of things, and you can get permits for problem animals. And you generally need to motivate most of the big species into one of those situations.
But let me put it to you like this: if we are going to introduce as leadwood, for argument's sake, the lion remains our property,
They're not allowed to hunt.
and they can't hunt.
And
If we introduce leopard, they can't hunt the leopard. All the what we call the
Well, there's no
iconic
permits for leopards
species.
at the moment.
That
So
will be-
nobody in South Africa can legally hunt a
and
leopard.
obviously they can't
Yeah.
hunt the rhino.
Yeah, so
No, the rhinos are not theirs.
yeah, so yes, they can hunt the plains game, but also only in accordance with the management plan. They cannot take off more than the
And the
management
quotas will
plan.
vary year on year. We'll sit down and we'll work it out once a year in December. And then we'll jointly put in our quotas for things we have to remove from leadwood as well. Otherwise we'll end up like Belfodint, which now has got a really ridiculous situation. They've got 300 and something impala after removing 400 last year.
Yeah, something like that.
And they've still got 300 impala. They lost virtually all their zebra and virtually